Great. So good afternoon, everyone. I think this is the culmination of the second year of work for this task force on broadband access. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time to kind of wrap up this cycle of work. I'm going to hand it back over to Jaren and we'll proceed.
Thank you, Brittany. Great to see everyone, and thanks again for attending. Welcome to the Governor's Task Force on Broadband Access. Today is July 28th of 2022, and I just want to remind everyone that this is a public meeting and it is being recorded. We did have a meeting agenda available on the PSC website and on their events calendar as well. So in an effort to maintain as best audio quality that we can have, I just remind folks to keep muted. And then also if there's any members of the public, if they could remain muted throughout the duration of the meeting, that'd be great. We do have a public comment period towards the end of the agenda. I'm going to now do a roll call. So if you could just let me know when you hear your name, that would be great. Brittany Beyer.
Here.
Marta Bechtel.
Here.
Tom Boron.
Here.
Chad Young.
Sorry, here.
Sounds good. Thank you. Jean Pock. Actually, Jean is retired. I've got an old agenda here, or old roster. I'll move on. Celeste Flynn.
Here.
Rachel Shemlin.
Present.
Brett Shepner.
Here.
Jose Martinez. I see him in the chat. Chris Meyer.
Here.
Chet Streeb.
I just admitted Chet. Will you say his
Okay.
name?
Chet, are you here? I see you just got admitted. I'll take it as a yes. I saw him pop in. Chris Herjong. Emily Dittmar.
Here.
Jennifer Schilling.
Here.
Andy Faust.
Here.
Matthew Gabriels. Robert Earl Baker. Lori Collins.
Present.
Gail Hike.
Here.
Shannon Clark. Sal Carranza.
Here.
Justin Hebner.
Here.
Doug Cox. State Representative Myers. State Representative Mursaw.
Here.
Thank you. State Senator Markline. And State Senator Path. All right, I'm going to do a quick run through of folks that may have joined. Chris Herjong. Matthew Gabriels. Robert Earl Baker. Shannon Clark. Doug Cox. Rep Myers. Senator Markline. And Senator Path. If I missed anyone, if you could let me know, this would be a great time.
Hi, this is Chet Streeb. I joined
Perfect.
that. All right.
Thank you. Yeah, we saw you pop in. Thanks, Chet.
Okay, good.
So hearing none, I'm really excited for today's meeting. It's a nice celebration of the release of the 2022 Governor's Task Force on Broadband Access Annual Report. I want to extend a thank you again to everyone involved for their hard work and dedication to get the report across the finish line. I'm going to do a quick screen share now, show everyone the task force webpage and actually the report as well. And then I'm going to place a link in the chat so everyone actually has a direct link to the task force report. So if you just give me a moment. All right. Hopefully folks can see my Google Chrome webpage. All right, seeing some nods. So if folks aren't aware, this is the task force webpage that we have on the PSC website. in the interest of time, I'm just going to scroll down a little bit and show you all where you can access the annual report. So this is the annual report section. Of course, you can see this year's 2022 report and last year's 2021 report. And now switching over, hopefully folks can now see a PDF of the report. Good, seeing some other nods. So this is the task force report that was released at the end of June last month. I won't go through it in detail, it's 45 pages, but we've got a nice table of contents here with the various sections of the report, some case studies, the executive summary, and so forth. So like I said, I'm not going to dive through, but I hope everyone had a chance to review that and pull some tidbits out of it that were hopefully useful. So I'm going to stop screen sharing. And are there any questions so far on what has been discussed? And I will put a link to the report in the chat as well.
Thank you.
I'm not hearing any questions. So again, thanks everyone for their hard work to get the report across the finish line. And we are fortunate today to be joined by a special guest, PESC Chairperson Rebecca Cameron Vaught. Chair Vaught, thank you so much for taking some time to join us today, and I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Darren. Hi, everyone. I think it's been a year since I've seen all of you. And so thank you for allowing me to just stop in and give you my sincere thank you. So it is a celebration of all of the hard work that's been done by everybody on the call and everybody on the task force, and releasing that report is a really important step for a number of reasons. The first of which, it's because it really coalesces everything that we need to be looking at as we continue to do this work in terms of getting all of our neighbors and our friends connected to broadband in Wisconsin. It also acknowledges that while we have made a lot of progress, there's still a lot of work to be done. And that's where I want to reiterate my sincere thanks to you. I know that this is time and talent that you are giving in addition to all of your day jobs. And I recognize the investment that it is, both, from a time perspective and from an intellectual capacity perspective. And so it is important to pause for just a minute and celebrate where we have come. Just over the last 3 years, the investments that we've made in the state under the direction of Governor Evers will be connecting 387,000 homes and businesses. That is nothing to sneeze at. That is tremendous progress. But everybody on this call understands that that's not any reason for us to take the foot off the gas pedal. And beyond just ensuring that the infrastructure is there, we know how important it is to also ensure that there are paths for adoption and affordability across the state. We're going to see a lot of continuing work and continuing investigation into those two aspects as it relates to broadband. I also think it's really important to thank Brittany for her 2 years of leadership. She has literally been tireless. She has been a leader in every sense of the word, and we've been so fortunate. When I think back to when the task force started and we were really in what now I hope was the worst of the pandemic, Brittany didn't bat an eye, and she kept forging forward because I think all of us know that at her very core, Brittany understands why this is so important and why she's been such a tireless advocate for that. So I want to thank you, Brittany. I also want to thank Kristen for her expertise in terms of facilitating and preparing the task force members for each meeting. Your contributions are immeasurable. They are acknowledged and they are appreciated. So thank you so much. And then finally, I'm delighted to announce that Chris Meyer has agreed to step up, and he is going to be serving as the new task force chairperson. That's a very fortunate announcement for the task force and really for the state of broadband within the state of Wisconsin. So I want to thank you, Chris, for stepping up and taking on that role. You have big shoes to fill, but I have no doubt that you will make every effort to fill those shoes. So I just wanted to thank you all again for your time, for your talent, for your efforts, for your continued focus on this issue. We at the Public Service Commission know that there's more work to be done, but we also know that it's important to acknowledge progress when it's been made and when it is making a difference in the lives of our friends and neighbors. So on behalf of Governor Evers and the entire team at the PSC, thank you. And I look forward to continued progress and success, especially at the hands of this task force. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair Vaughn, for those comments. I know I feel the same way, and I can't thank everyone enough, specifically Brittany, Kristen, and Chris for agreeing to be the chair going forward. I will now turn it back over to Brittany for some of her comments and remarks. Brittany.
Great, thank you very much, Chair Vaughn. Thank you so much for those kind words. I'm glad you can see the labor of love that's been put into this work. I think it's the core driving of starting at the height of COVID and knowing that this work was so urgent, and yet we had to do all of the work remotely. It became such a driving part of how we were working in such earnest as a task force. And I think it's really commendable that it's only been, in frequent spurts that I've actually met some of you one-on-one. So I do really believe that there's a lot that we've been able to do without ever meeting each other in person. And so I think that's really going to be an interesting part of how we continue to work in the 21st century. We're going to be dispersed, but we're also going to be really hyper connected. And I think this was a perfect and powerful way of thinking about it. I too want to thank Kristen Runge for her expertise. It's really essential to have someone who's just driving the conversation forth. And, we were getting into some nuggets that might still emerge in future rounds of the task force, because it's such an essential thing to have that facilitator watching and looking at commonalities with other items that they're coming across in their practice. And sometimes the solution comes from a very interesting turn of the looking at the problem. And so I really thank Kristen for that. It's the second year that UW and the extension were able to help with facilitation. And I think the state of Wisconsin is really very blessed to have such a strong university system. It really goes without saying that the PSC staff has been working day and night on this issue, especially those who touch the office of broadband. And so I really would like to thank each and every one of you for your guidance. You are doing this at a level that even I'm scraping the surface. You guys are in it day in, day out. And so I really thank you for each of your leadership on the issue. And really, we are at such an interesting moment in federal funding coming down. And so this cycle of the task force, although it felt still a little unclear, it really will become part of how we can, as the leaders inside of the state, interact together and help make sure the federal dollars are reaching as far as it can across the whole entire state. So thank you to all of you as the task force members. It has been an immense learning experience in the past 2 years. It's been certainly a huge growth moment for myself. And I really, deeply I'm thankful for this experience. And I hope that each and every one of you feels like they're taking something back into your communities for the work. So I will keep it brief, but I think, you know, we all have been able to bring our perspective to the table. I think a lot of us are working closer than ever on the issue. And I know that I will see a lot of you in different capacities in the future. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be working on broadband. So I really thank you everyone for that. And I'll turn it back over to you, Jaron.
Thank you, Brittany. Really appreciate those kind words. That's I know I can probably speak on behalf of the PSC. We can't thank you enough, and we really do appreciate those kind words. And it's been a pleasure and a true honor to work alongside you for the past 2 years. So thanks, thank you again.
Thank you.
So move on to the next steps portion of the agenda. First things first, I am very excited to introduce the new chair of this task force, Chris Meyer. Chris, I know I'm looking forward to working with you in your new role as chair. It's certainly been a pleasure to work with you these past couple of years as a member, but I'm very excited to work with you in your new role. And I'm sure PSC staff and task force members feel the same way. So I will turn it over to you to make some comments if you'd like.
Excellent. Thank you, Jaron. And thank you, Brittany. I definitely have some big shoes to fill, no doubt about it. You know, under the last 2 years, I was just looking at the 2 annual reports that we put out and thinking back to the number of patients that I interact with in my role at Marshfield Clinic that have come to me and said, we've got better internet access. We just got upgraded last year. And that's happening far more frequently. And that harkens back to the comment that was made earlier about the number of homes that we've been expanding to. And we should be very proud of the work we did. We made a lot of progress under your leadership, Brittany, so I'm glad you're still going to be here, and I suspect there'll be a couple of phone calls from me at some point. And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Chris Meyer. I'm currently the Director of Telehealth at Marshfield Clinic Health System. I've been involved in discussions around broadband in the communities we serve since starting here about 6 years ago. But for 15 years prior to that, I worked as an IT director in the University of Wisconsin system and was also very involved with broadband in that capacity. In my current role, one of my favorite parts of my job is going into these communities and meeting in a community center with a group of community leaders and talking about what can happen when they expand broadband in their community and seeing how excited they get. As a representative of Marshfield Clinic, we write letters of support because this is important to reaching patients in their home and where they are. And we provide some advising and, of course, some financial contributions if their project is funded. This is important to us because telehealth and all of the other teleservices, whether it's education or work, are really obviously clearly something that is part of every one of our lives today. Excuse me. It's been a pleasure to work with each of you over the last 2 years because I've sensed that all of you share the same passion I do for making broadband what it really is, the great equalizer, the thing that can get everybody access to higher education, to healthcare services, connected socially. My goodness, over the last 2 years, I didn't think I'd see the day when we had virtual church, but people were attending virtual church over the last 2 years, at least those who had the ability to with broadband in their home. So I look forward to working with each of you, recognize that broadband is no longer a luxury, it's a utility that we need to perform the basic tasks in our daily life. I also want to thank Governor Evers for appointing me to this role, but for all of you as well and his faith in us to deliver on the objectives that we have in front of us. And I think that we absolutely can deliver on those. Brittany has put us in a really good place moving forward, and the staff at the PSC, let me tell you, I have already gotten a sense of how awesome it's going to be to work with them. Before today, I asked for a few bullet points to help me make sure I touched on everything. And I think Alyssa sent me what could have been the entire speech. And so I really appreciate the efforts that they put in there. But the goals that we have in common that we all want to achieve are to successfully expand high-speed internet access to every business, residence, and organization in the state. We want to promote initiatives for digital inclusion, adoption, and affordability. And we want to find pathways to unlocking and optimizing the benefits of statewide affordable access to broadband. And with $65 billion in funding that's coming from the federal governments to the states, it'll be incumbent on us to make sure that we're allocating these funds in a way that is equitable and efficient, meaning that we want to make sure that we're truly impacting those who need the services. I have no doubt, knowing this group, that we will achieve those goals, and I look forward to working with you over the next year. And again, Brittany, thank you for your time, and I'll put you on speed dial here for the first couple of months. With that, I can turn it back over to Jaron.
Thank you so much, Chris. Very much look forward to working with you, and we appreciate those comments. So somewhat in closing here, we've got some kind of next steps and reminders as we go on a bit of a recess here, and we'll be reconvening relatively shortly. So first thing, on public records, I just want to remind folks, as a very general rule of thumb, it's probably best to err on the side of something being a record and to retain it. An exception to that would be something like personal notes, kind of for your use only. So just kind of want to keep that on the back burner or the forefront of folks' minds as we continue the work of the task force. And if there are any questions, I know it can be a bit confusing. Please do reach out. Don't hesitate. I know, reach out to myself, or we've got a chief legal counsel, Cynthia Smith, as well. I know she's joined us in the past. Some folks might remember her. So if there are any questions regarding public records, please do not hesitate to reach out and we'd be happy to help you. So next, for the future meeting schedule of this task force, I believe that we'll be taking the month of August off. And likely picking up somewhere around September is what we're thinking at this point. I know we took a longer break after the release of the 2021 report, but I know we don't want to lose momentum. We want to hit the ground running quickly. So I think we'll be taking a bit of a shorter break this time. Also, members can expect to receive communication likely in the next month from PSC staff, just to gauge folks on their interest and intent to continue serving on the task force. I know we had just a bit of turnover last time, just with some retirements and some changes. So please do be on the lookout for communication from PSC staff in the coming weeks regarding your intent and desire to continue to serve. I'm going to take a moment to pause. We've had a lot of people making remarks and comments and sort of reminders. So I'm going to take a moment to pause if there's any questions or comments from any of the task force members. Please do feel free.
This is Sal Carranza. Jason, thank you for leading this group as well. It has been a pleasure to serve for 2 iterations now on the task force, and I'll be more than willing to continue serving as needed. I just want to thank not only you, but all the staff. Bethany, you have done an amazing job. It has been a pleasure working with you. Chris, I know Chris from UW, and she's awesome. I know from before. So thank you, Chris. Kirsten Drungen, and Chris, welcome as well to be the new chair of the task force. I just wanted to say a few words. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this, and for Governor Evers to be so kind to appoint me to the task force. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sal. Any other comments or questions from any of the task force members?
I'll make a comment if that's okay, Jaron.
Sure, absolutely.
You guys were amazing to work with. There were a lot of weeks when I hit send to send the homework to Jaron and to Alyssa that I thought, wow, we're asking them to do a lot this week. And it was always, or this month, it was always a lot. You guys hit it out of the ballpark, and the thought you put in, the time you put in, you made my job very, very easy. And I thank you for that. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you, Kristen. Any other comments? Any other comments or questions from any of the task force members? All right, I am hearing none. So this meeting is actually going to be probably about half the length that folks may have expected, but that's probably a good thing. We're all living busy professional lives. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to the public comment portion of the agenda. Now is the time where we will allow for public comment. Members of the public can feel free to unmute and make a public comment. I just ask that the comment remain brief and pertain to the subject of broadband access. And if we have any members of the public on the Zoom, you can actually let us know in the chat function if you would like to make a comment as well. So I will now ask for any public comment.
This is
I'm a member of the public from Hudson, Wisconsin, and I just want to thank this committee for their hard work and look, I'm looking forward to working with this committee. I have several parties myself, so it's very important to me that we encourage equitable access to high-speed internet for low-income individuals with disabilities throughout the state, especially up in Aspen County, because up by Trigo, there is very limited high-speed internet access, and there are some pockets in South Milwaukee that there are limited internet access. So I just want to thank the work of the task force, Sharon and Melissa and Brittany and everybody for their hard work and dedication, and also Celeste. I would encourage each and every one of you to attend the Governor's Committee for People with Disabilities, because they have a subcommittee on opportunities and access. So we look forward to learning more about the committee and working with you guys. So thanks everyone. And Lawrence Brown from South Milwaukee is with me. Terry, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, my brief comment would have to do with internet access in rural areas and DOCSIS or cable internet access where my friend lives at Jadam Lane in Milwaukee, which is very slow when people get on the internet. And even though he's paying and getting subsidy, he effectively doesn't have he has very little access to the internet, depending on what his local node allows over the internet. And I've been hearing from friends in rural areas that they still don't have effective internet access, depending on where you live. That's my public comment.
Thank you very much for those public comments. I'm going to make another call for any other public comments.
And in addition, John, I just wanted to let you know that when I went to the public meeting notices website for the state, it said that this meeting started at 2:30 a.m. So that's something to correct for the future, but I look forward to working with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you again. Yeah, thanks for making us aware of that timing issue. I apologize about that. We'll be sure to get that fixed going forward. Any other public comments? Last call for public comments. All right, I will kick it back over to you, Brittany, to adjourn us. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Jaren, and thank you for the public comments. So with this, we close this second cycle of the Task Force on Broadband Access. Please enjoy the rest of your summer and we will all convene the work. Congrats, Chris. Looking forward to your leadership. Have a very good day.
Thank you, everyone.
You still there, Ram?